What does being a Black doctor mean to you?
So being a Black physician is everything. When you walk into the room, you are perceived as being smart enough, not only by Black patients, but by patients who are not of color. And I've had countless patients tell me, I'm so glad it's you. I'm so glad it's you. Because in the field of obstetrics, I'm a part of the worst part of somebody's day and their lives, and I'm also part of the best part of their lives. And somebody has to guide them through those moments.
I think being a Black doctor means hope. When doctors were originally around the United States, they didn't all look like us. And the percentage of people who are Black doctors is anywhere still from like 1% to 2%. And that number is so astronomically small. And we have such a lot more room to go. But you breaking the barriers and you getting past all these obstacles and so forth gives hope to a future generation to make us outside of like, we're these unique people trying to like normalize this and make this the norm where like a young child growing up who's Black, Hispanic, whoever can grow up and see themselves being like a doctor.
Being a Black doctor means the world to me. I feel like I don't see it enough. When I'm working, I don't see myself as a different level as anyone else. I just see, okay, someone's coming into my office, we're gonna come up with a plan together, and then that's it.
Everything. It's everything. I think like, it's kind of like how I feel about my hair. Like it just gives me power, and that it's just like a natural thing that I know that no matter what, like I wear, I have like my stethoscope on, I have my skin tone, you see what you get, and they'll get 1000% authentic me.
Being a Black doctor to me means that I'm able to form this sense of connection with my patients. I have this to me it's automatic, this sense of empathy and this desire to make sure that they feel safe. I love seeing my Black patients come into the room. When I walk into the room and I see that they look like me, I hope that they also feel as safe as I do in their presence.
I think for me, there wasn't like a specific one moment that kind of clarified for me that I wanted to be a physician. It's kind of like a culmination of like multiple moments. I think at first it started like really personal and like kind of like, it felt a little bit more like selfish in the sense like I just really wanted to take care of my family, and like I had sick family members growing up, so like I just wanted to be the person to take care of them. But as I kind of like advanced through like my medical career and like training, I was kind of exposed that like many other people are experiencing the same problems I have, and it was a much larger problem that many people needed people that could advocate for them, could be communicators, and kind of like rally behind them to kind of improve their outcomes. And that's kind of what inspired me to kind of want to be more involved with like community engagement and like health initiatives to kind of educate the people I work with. So it's less about just fixing like one person, but trying to create means of like helping more than one person at a time. My name is Stefan Lesson, and I'm an emergency medicine attending physician. Growing up, the doctors I wanted to be like were the doctors that were like the biggest advocates for their patients. And then I often felt like I wanted to be able to take care of any patient, any place, at any time. And I felt like emergency medicine captured a lot of those elements. I feel like in no other part of our like healthcare system where you're able to see like the rich CEO and like the patient who's like under-resourced, is currently like undomiciled, and have them in the same area at the same time. There's no other place in the hospital system where that could ever possibly happen. And I feel like that was the kind of setting I wanted to be like, no matter what patient looked like, where they were from, how much money they had, whether they had insurance. If they were in front of me, I was gonna take care of them.
For me, I grew up knowing that I wanted to be a physician. The problem was that I didn't see any Black doctors growing up at all. I didn't have any personally. I didn't know any in my life, so I didn't feel like it was actually possible to do this. And then for plastics specifically, I thought for a long time that I wanted to do general surgery, and I know I've talked to you guys about wanting to do general surgery. I wanted to do breast surgery specifically. I was just very drawn to taking care of breast cancer patients. And I had one case where we went clients do a mastectomy, as you know, like removing their breasts for breast cancer. And I stayed for the plastic surgery portion of the case. And we basically took a bunch of tissue from the belly and then we transplanted it to the chest. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, yeah, this is for me. My name is Ayanna Cole-Price. I am a 4th-year plastic and reconstructive surgery resident at the University of Michigan. I think I tried everything prior to committing to plastic surgery. And when I went to medical school, at some point I just knew that I wanted to be procedural. So I wanted to either be in the OR or do like interventional radiology procedures, something. I needed to use my hands. I ended up rotating on a breast surgery service, and I have a personal history of benign breast tumors. So I've seen a breast surgeon since the age of 16. So I had that interaction and I knew that, being a woman surgeon was possible. I was mesmerized and I was like, this is insane. I've never seen anything like this. This is probably the coolest thing, hands down, that I've ever seen. I learned that plastic surgeons are more than just kind of what we see on Instagram and social media, just kind of breast and body contouring or facelifts. We do that too, but we also do a lot of trauma-based surgery. We do a lot of reconstructive surgery, so patients who've had cancer in different parts of their body, not just breast, and we're taking tissue from random places and transplanting it somewhere super far and working under a microscope. We also do craniofacial surgery, work with kids and do cleft lip and palate. And then we do a lot of hand surgery, which I did not know in med school.
For me, I had a surgery when I was 7, and I remember waking up and I had anesthesia in my legs and I tried to walk around the bed and I was like, wow, this is so cool. They can put me to sleep and wake me up and now I'm fixed. This is the coolest thing ever. And then I kind of just got more and more interested in medicine. I was a candy striper, the ones that wear the peppermint looking outfits in the hospital. So from there, that was really the only thing I wanted to do. And then psychiatry specifically, I think by that point I wanted to be the least doctor-y doctor. And so that's why we picked psychiatry. There's more to that, but yes. My name is Zoe Paul, and I'm a child and adolescent psychiatry attending. I got my master's degree because I had no choice. And master's in public health always pulled me because it's how you learn on a more macro level about medicine and how it affects people and communities rather than just the biology of it all. That degree has changed the course of what kind of doctor I became. It really helped me to see a different perspective. I think when you're in medical school, you see so many things from a doctor perspective or biology perspective. And I knew that I didn't want to be a particular type of doctor when I went back into medical school. And so I knew by the end of my master's in public health that I wanted to be a psychiatrist. I didn't know the specific words for it, but I knew I wanted to be the kind of doctor that helped in other ways than just medicine, like prescribing medicine. And so that's exactly what I did.
So growing up, I was in a high school that didn't really teach for sexual education. And in my school, a lot of young ladies, they dropped out of high school because they got pregnant. Or there was a ton of people who were doing who knows what to their bodies in trying to prevent pregnancy. And there was nobody to talk about it with. And so because my mother, my grandmother, they're all nurses, I knew that I wanted to do medicine, but seeing that there was a missing piece, a lack of education, I wanted to become a gynecologist to be able to do that. And especially because women of color have poorer outcomes in pregnancy. My name is Ayanna White. I am an attending and associate professor of obstetrics and gynecology. When I was younger, I wanted to be a veterinarian because I love animals. But no, once I decided in high school that I wanted to become an OBGYN, that was it for me. And I feel like I kind of went throughout my time at Sophie Davis doing a lot of community outreach. Everything was towards the goal of becoming an OBGYN.
For me, my mom and actually a lot of my family members are in medicine. So I was always in that bubble somewhere, somehow. So she would my mom would bring me to all these different people, different doctors, PAs, nurses, everything. And just being in the doctor realm made more sense to me personally. So I decided to go forward with that. But then for peds specifically, I just like dealing with kids more than adults. It's easier for me just to see oh, a cute little baby than some 60-year-old who's I don't want to take my medicine. So it's it's much better for me and I can feel I relate to them better. So yeah, it's definitely the area I need to be in for sure.
My name is Orin Imani Donaldson and I'm a pediatric clinician. I never really had a particular moment that said, doctor, doctor, doctor. It just happened to seem like the right thing for me to do. But then when it came to pediatrics, I always knew that I wanted to definitely help people, but kids especially, because I felt that they were, in a way, one of the more vulnerable communities out there. Not of the race or anything like that, but it's like I felt like they always needed an advocate some way, somehow. So it's like, if their parents aren't stepping up, you know, you can have like a mentor, a guidance counselor, like at least have a doctor that's there to be there for these kids.
Black representation is important, so important in medicine and in psychiatry because there are none of us. When it comes to trust, especially when it comes to mental health care, talking about these really uncomfortable, taboo subjects that you don't even want to talk to your own parent about or your own cousin about, why would you want to talk to a stranger about them? And when it comes to identifying something that you feel is a weakness and you're able to like find some validation that it's not a weakness, there's nothing wrong with you, and being able to see that from a person who looks like you is very different. Being able to work through that distrust and say, hello, I'm a person who is in this system, I'm aware of the history that happened here, and I want to help work it through with you, and we're trying to like build some better trust here, I think is a really big deal.
You need to have a seat at the table in order to kind of properly represent all the spectrum of people that you're being taken care of. I think when decisions and stuff are being made from the sole perspective of like one type of person or one group of people, you're missing out on like what the whole population of patients that you're taking care of look like and what their issues represent. And I feel like everyone has unique issues, so the more diverse the people who are advocating for change are, the more you can capture that representation.
There are so many reasons why Black representation is imperative to the medical field. And number one, you know, when patients see physicians that look like them, they are more likely to trust, and they're also more likely to agree with preventative measures and kind of just talk through a plan. Being able to be that provider in the room and kind of put someone's mind at ease and say, you know, I understand your cultural background. I understand the history behind the Tuskegee experiments, like dating all the way back into the mistrust that our community has when it comes to medicine. So being able to be that person to put someone else's mind at ease, it's rewarding for me, and it's also a very humbling experience because I've experienced it from both sides.
In order for people to believe something, they have to see it. It's so hard to believe in something that you've never seen before, that, you know, that's not tangible. And so being the example not only gives other students a kind of a boost of confidence and hope that they can make it there.
An example that I have for that was something that happened to me this past Friday. I walk in a room, like to say hi to a new patient and things like that. They had like a heart problem. And I'm asking these questions. And the dad stops me. It's a Black family. And the dad stops me. He's like, where are you from? And I'm like, Jamaica, Queens. He's like, I don't see that many doctors from Jamaica, Queens that look like you. And that was enough for me to be like, all right, like, yes, I'm professional, but we're friends now, you know? Like having that familiarity with my patients and their parents, I feel like gives me like an extra step with them in terms of trust that I feel is very important in our community.
Have y'all ever experienced walking into a Black patient's room and having them exhale and just be like,
It's the best feeling.
Literally the best.
I'm so glad.
Eyes light up. Right.
Yeah, and I'm like,
It's really
good.
Yeah.
And I'm just, it makes me even more confident in my abilities, and that sense of trust, and it's unmatched.
Yeah.
It's an unmatched
Especially when you're going through the medical programs and you're coming up in medicine, there's more distrust in us, right, from faculty, staff, whether or not we'll be competent enough. But then when you step in front of that patient and you're like, I know what I know,
Right.
and I know that I can help this person, and they validate that, it's just beautiful.
I think without even knowing you, like you just from that moment of like establishing rapport with them and they're saying like, oh, you're their doctor, they sense a sense of like reprieve that like, this person's gonna have my back. Right.
They don't play about it.
But then I come in the room, like it's a nice feeling knowing that I'm that person for someone.
Right.
That, you know, they don't even know who I am, they know nothing about me, but they're putting all this trust on me based on like a shared moment with each other that, you know, they feel like I'm gonna be their advocate. And that's like something like I always wanted. So it's a really nice feeling that, you know, I feel like you don't wanna underestimate that and like drop the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helps foster more trust.
In pediatrics, you're not only taking care of the kid, you're also taking care of the family as well. You know, so it's like kind of doing double time where like I'm establishing rapport with this child who doesn't know me or anything like that, but like the family sees like a Black doctor walk in, they're like, oh, okay, like they're gonna look out for me, like all this other stuff. So like when COVID and like the vaccines were becoming more available to kids, I would be like, they would ask me like, oh, like, would you give your kid that? And I was like, you know, like I know it just came out, and so like I have a little bit of hesitancy myself, but like I look at the statistics, I look at all these things because I wanna be as informed as possible. And so because they trust you, and you share your real experiences, they're more likely to actually like, you know, follow you and be like, okay, I trust what you're saying, so we'll get it done. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's also like really, it makes the work more fulfilling to me personally. That's why I love like being in the clinics and everything like that. It's my favorite part.
What has been one of the hardest parts of the journey so far. And like from listening to all you guys, like there's an important concept. Like we all know about like flight or like flight, fight or flight, sorry. But there's also like a third part of it called like the freeze. And like that freeze is that moment where like you hear something like super uncomfortable, whether it's like a macroaggression, a microaggression, and that internal monologue you have with yourself about validating was that actually a reality moment. And you're kind of like gaslighting yourself in the sense of like, nah, they didn't really mean to say that. They would never say that in the workplace. And like, you look around the room for like validation to see if anyone's eyes or like eyebrows are furrowing or like looking like that was kind of crazy and like everyone's just minding their business, typing on the keyboard, and you're like, wow, maybe this just is in my head. And then you want to do things like, how do I react to it? Like you don't want to react too aggressive, and like especially if this person has seniority over you, because it might escalate into something that you're out of your control, or you're afraid that like the people who are in control will high key side with them, and like then they'll just retaliate on you.
They're not like that.
Yeah, they're not like that. Or you know, you don't want to like put it on yourself and then like have to carry that burden. And like, I feel like one of the hardest parts of that journey is like kind of like the minority tax, which is kind of like you have that sensation and you don't want that feeling to happen to any, you know, rising student, rising resident, you know, your colleagues to occur. So you kind of take on that burden to be like, I'm going to be the person to change this. Right. So I found like the hardest part of my job, honestly, is not even like the long hours or the patient care or, you know, like the difficult stories you have to hear from patients. I feel like those are kind of like what I went into the job for, and I was ready to kind of take that on, that mantle on. It was this stuff that was the hard part, like, you know, trying to be the one person find like an army of 1,000,000, you know what I mean? And trying to make a bigger change for like myself and for colleagues, and like not necessarily getting all the support I need. Granted, I've worked in places where like things have been pretty good, but I always think things can be better. You know what I mean? Like, they can definitely be better, and like I shouldn't be the only one to be the one to carry this, to fix it. It should be, all of us should be just as invested in making this change, but that's not always the case. And some places are definitely worse than where I've been. But that's just like, I feel like that's kind of the hardest part of my job. And I feel like you guys kind of talked about similar circumstances in other places as well too.
I think for me, there were so many times when I was in the beginning of my medical career that people told me that I shouldn't be in medicine at all. People refused to write me letters of recommendation, and that not only is, if you don't make the scores that you want on your tests, and you physically feel those doors closing on you, and then you feel people are like, you shouldn't even be here, right? And these people are blonde hair, blue-eyed. And then they say, well, you're not good enough for me to even write a recommendation, even though you know that you're working harder than the other students who aren't of color. And so it's been so difficult in the beginning to still push through that and still not take that no for an answer and try to work your way around it, because then you feel like maybe I wasn't good enough, and it eats away at you, you know? And being that cog in the machine, being the wrecking ball for the other students, still means that you have to take all the hits.
For sure.
You know? And I've always said I want to be the change that I want to see, but when I first understood that concept, I didn't realize that meant that I was going to be beaten before, you know, that change happens.
Yeah, in psychiatry, there's so much pressure. And I felt that pressure from residency, because like every little thing we do in psychiatry has some sort of like impact, right? So like if you say, have you ever met with a psychiatrist? That's like on your record or like whatever. And so there's a stigma that comes along with that. And so if you are deciding to admit someone versus like discharge them from the emergency room, you know, like the stigma that comes along with it. And I was the only Black woman in my residency program, the only Black woman in my fellowship program, and there was a lot of pressure on me to speak for our entire population. And yeah, we worked in a urban community wherein the doctors did not look like the patients, did not understand the patients, and a lot of what we do in psychiatry, you have to have this level of understanding, right? Like one time, I think I saw in a note, like this one patient had, like her wig was detached from her like hair or something like that. So they were like, oh, she's like so unkempt and da da. And I was like, no, she literally just like came in here. She had an emergency. She didn't put her lace glue on, leave her alone, whatever. So like there's so many like things that like, and then, oh, they're gonna think that she's like all of these things just because of this thing. So like stopping the stigma is something I feel like I do literally all day. It's so exhausting. I mean, I like our jobs, so I think it's completely worth it, but I do think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to really help other people.
In medicine, especially as a Black person, there's so much sacrifice that you have to do. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. To those who can do it on their own, kudos to you, but it is so, so, so important to have a support system. When I was, not doing so well in my exams, I needed my friends studying at 4 o'clock in the morning, doing review sessions before the test. We had our little traditions of, singing songs, or, we'll go through a whole Disney album just to keep ourselves, supported in that regard. And it's so vital that you find your people, because when you feel down, when you are at your lowest, they'll pick you up and put you in your place, even if you're not ready to be there. They know that you can do it, even if you don't at times, and without them, I don't think I would have been here.
I think what's important about having a big community is that you have someone that you can lean on when things are rough, and someone that's gonna catch you when you fall. You can say this about any career, but definitely in medicine, it feels like there are a lot more falls than anything, just because the nature of our specialty is that like when you win big, but when you lose, you also lose big, right? Because the losing involves like, losing patients' lives, or, you can't always be successful and help everyone. And so those losses, you really internalize and take it personally, as in like you fail that person that you were responsible for. So having people that kind of like understand where you're from and, reminding you that you joined this profession to help people and you did everything you possibly could is so important, because it's so easy to lose sight of that in the midst of your loss and so forth.
I was the only Black resident in my program for 3 years, but I will say it was really nothing too new. I think that I was blessed at Sophie Davis being surrounded by all of this like melanin magic, and I was a little bit spoiled, but then I went to NYU and then I was one of few. So I feel like it was kind of a continuation of that. But being in that position and being the only Black resident, I felt like all eyes were on me. And even if my program didn't really feel the same way, I felt like if I messed up in this position, I'm ruining it for everyone to come after me. And that if I messed up this opportunity that I have, there's no way that they're gonna hire more Black residents to come after me. And that was my biggest fear, was ruining it for everyone else. And I was blessed and very lucky to have 3 Black attendings, which is unheard of in plastic surgery for the most part. And I would talk to them often about the way that I felt. And 2 of them are women, Dr. Sears and Dr. Hooper. They actually went through the program as well. So I'm the 3rd Black woman to go through this program. And they had very similar experiences when they were there also. So being able to have that support system and to be honest and be real with them about the way that I was feeling is unmatched. And I don't think that had I gone somewhere else where I didn't have that support, that I would feel as confident in my abilities as I am today.
Has mentorship played a role for you all in your career?
Absolutely.
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
For sure.
I think there's like kind of two parts to that. So I think that yes, mentorship, but then there's also sponsorship. So it's really important to understand the difference between the two. So mentorship is someone who's going to be with you day to day, and they're kind of helping you build all of your skills and all of those things, you know, and they're kind of working through you. They see you at your worst, see you at your best, help you get through those things that you need to get through. But sponsorship, on the other hand, that's the person that's going to say your names in like rooms when you're not even there. That's just going to set you up for opportunities and things like that. So I always tell this to my mentees that it's important to have both.
I think it's really hard to, as someone who didn't have a mentor and having to figure out medicine, you know, each step of the way by themselves, being a mentor for someone, you know, they come to me because I give it to them real and I try to give them everything that I didn't get, right? And so whether it be sponsorship, whether it be the mentorship, I feel that I'm able to be that person for people, or point them in the right direction.
Right.
At first, I was like, you know, like I'm only gonna just look for like, you know, black doctors and things like to vouch for me and things. But like, unfortunately, in all of our fields, we're very rare, and so like, you know, you just have to just be open to just networking all over the place. But like, you know, you have your own fears and your own like, you know, boogaboos about like what are they gonna say about me? Like, are they saying stuff like about me behind my back, this and that and the third? But you just have to push and just be as persistent as possible.
Yeah, but I think that goes, you know, vice versa. You know how our patients are looking when they see us as their physicians, they feel that level of trust. I think the same thing for us who are looking for mentorship. I think we tend to prefer, you know, a minority mentor because why? We feel like they're gonna trust us. We'll have shared moments with them. We don't feel like they're gonna judge us after we leave the meeting.
For sure.
Where you may, you know, where that might not be the case with like, you know, a non-minority mentor, but you get, that's an internal feeling that you have, you know what I mean? And like, they're so far and few between of us to be available for mentors that like it makes the pool look a lot smaller. So then you often end up like siloing yourself and then making that feeling worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to round it out, what do you hope your presence in this field means for future doctors of color?
Yeah, I need more black male pediatricians. Like, black people in general and medicine in general are like zebras. Black male pediatricians are unicorns. Like, it's wild. It's actually like pretty scary to see, in the sense that, like, you know, we all talk about we want to see people that look just like us, you know. Every time I see like a black male like pediatric resident, I'm like, all right, we're gonna push. Like, I'm not gonna be like, I will be your mentor if you need me to be, but either way, I'm in your corner. And so we're gonna push. Like, I know that, you know, like everything really sucks, but if you need someone to talk to, you got me. Because like, I need you to be out here with me and like showing more of these kids that like, we can do this.
No, I think for me, it's like the importance of why diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. I think in a political climate, it's kind of divvying away from like why DI is like, just seems like extra work for people to do.
Right.
But the reason why diversity is so important is because it breeds like ingenuity, right? It's like a diverse perspective, ideology, thought process is how we make substantial change. And it fosters us looking what we're doing now and like, is it actually working or is it just something we're comfortable doing? And I think that is what I want to showcase, that doing the uncomfortable thing oftentimes leads to better outcomes than just doing the same old thing and just hoping things work out when our world is like clearly changing and there needs to be a change that needs to be made. And so like, I feel like that's the presence that I want to showcase of like why I'm here, and I want to foster more people being able to join me at the table when decisions are being made for, you know, large groups of people at a time.
Yeah, I agree with both of your sentiments. And the only thing that I will add is also showing students that you can be this incredible surgeon, physician, psychiatrist, whoever you are, but also have a life outside of that.
Literally.
You know, like it's so important to be a person, a normal person, whatever normal means to you outside of medicine. And a lot of people think that, yeah, I've committed my life to this, right? We made this decision when we were like 16, 17, that we were gonna pursue this dream. And we worked our butts off to get here. We've dedicated so much time to this, but it is not your entire life. At the end of the day, it is a career, yes, but it is a job. Right. You still have to go home, and if you have a kid, you have a whole family, you want a family, you need to be present, right? You need to be present as a dad, as a wife, as a mom, et cetera. And I want to be able to do that and showcase that for my students to come, my mentees to come.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'd say. Like, we can do hard things.
Yep.
And once we do the hard things, we can enjoy our lives. I think like there's a lot of like complications in like applying for medical school now, right? Like you need a research, you need this, you need like all of these things. And it's like, where is the end goal? And so being the end goal, right? Like I'm about to be an attending, I can show you like, okay, I survived all of the things and it was worth it. I actually like my life. There's so many parts of my life that I really enjoy. Work is one part and the rest of it is the rest of my life. And so like you want to be able to build all of it at the same time.
And we don't have to stick into the box that the world is trying to put us in.
Yes.
You really don't.
You can create your own lane, your own niche. If you like two things, why can't you do both?
Exactly.
Like,
I really hope that my presence in medicine has shown young Black women of color, especially women who look like me, who are dark skinned, that we do have a place, that we are capable and that we are capable of change and that we just have to stay steadfast so that we can create the change that we want to be and see in the world.
you are not here by accident. The road you're walking is demanding.
Filled with sacrifice, doubt, and moments of loneliness.
But it is also filled with purpose, joy, and power.
You will miss things.
You'll carry a weight that others don't see.
But you'll also witness the beauty of what it means to truly care for others.
And to be seen, really seen.
By patients who look like you and trust you.
Let your purpose guide you.
Stay connected to your why.
And surround yourself with people who remind you
Of who you are when you forget.
Your community will keep you going, and make sure you lean on them.
Make room for joy.
Protect your mental health.
Celebrate small wins.
you are more than your white coat.
More than your resume. You're human first.
Being a Black doctor is a superpower.
Your presence matters. Your voice matters.
Your care has the power to change lives.
And to rewrite the narrative.
Make sure you dream boldly.
Show up every day.
And never doubt that you belong here.
You've
got
got
this.
this. We believe in you
because
because we are you.
That helps even more because like you listen to all these music. That's why I try to stay with the youth, you know. Like, listen to, I was like, yo, you listen to that new Playboy Cardi? Like, what's up? Like, I had to ask like the younger cousins, like, what are y'all listening to? So that way I have to do my own research. But like, you don't know how much anime has connected me with so many persons. Like, it's great. It's great. So yeah, the more like well-rounded you are, the more you can even relate. Period. So like, you gotta chill.
In the OR too, my favorite question to ask my patient when they're like about to go under anesthesia, I'm like, so what do you want to listen to? And like all my Black patients, they're like, oh, like you put that new Beyonce track on.
Right.
Or like I had one guy, he was super nervous about surgery. He was like all tatted up. He was not nervous about surgery. And so he's like laying on the table and he's like, I'm like, yes, like, I always tell my patients, you get one song before you go to sleep. He was like, do you know who Pop Smoke is? And I was like, yeah. I was like, say no more. and then I looked at my attending, I was like, are you okay with cuss words? And he was like, not a problem. Just put my stuff on, okay?
I literally do the same because moms are so nervous when they're about to get a C-section. And they actually are on that table for a while. So it's not maybe just one song, it's multiple,
And they're waiting.
so
they're wide awake.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be singing with the patient. I had a patient the other day, we were singing Mary J. Blige until she went to sleep. It was great.